Hi everyone, welcome. This is Petri. Today we're going to talk about watercolor brushes. I actually met someone over the weekend, Militia. She's maybe interested in getting into some artwork and doing some watercolor painting, and she was kind of like, well, what kind of brushes do you use? And I said, well, there's a lot of different brushes in watercolor, and so we started chatting, and then I told her about my YouTube channel, and I said I would do a video on brushes, and I thought it would just be a great time. I don't think I've ever done any videos on brushes. So it was some great questions from Alicia, and it was also a learning experience for me too, because I realized I haven't really talked about brushes too much, and I don't mean to really go into incredible amounts of detail here about watercolor brushes, but just basically the real essentials that I would consider for someone that's just starting out or maybe painting for a couple of years or so. Usually most watercolor artists are pretty much self-educators because it's such a challenging medium. You always have to research everything and try to find out easy ways to do things and so forth. So I find that a lot of most watercolor artists are very smart and really are savvy and do a lot of research. So, but in any case, just for maybe someone that's just starting out or first couple of years of watercolor painting and so forth, we'll get right into it here. We'll start off with the round brush. The round brush is really the staple of most watercolor artists. I would say 90% of watercolor artists use the round brush, most of the time. And I'm pretty much follow that same line of artists in the sense that I use the watercolor brush, the round brush 90% of the time, actually. And I also would like to say that your watercolor brush definitely will affect your style and the way your painting comes out. So I think it's great to research all the different brushes that are out there for watercolor artists. Try them all if you can, or as you go, over the years, you try all the different watercolor brushes and you see what they can do. And sometimes when you're in a painting and you maybe get stuck on something where you don't know how to actually paint, get an effect you need, you can sometimes say, oh, I remember using this type of brush, and I can probably get that effect I need with that type of brush. Even though you might not normally use it every day, you might be able to recall back and use that information to help your painting come out a little better. So here we have the round brushes. These are Kolinsky sable brushes, red sable, and they're round brushes. They have good points, and they're dry right now, somewhat dry. If I wet them a little, put them in some water, we'll see that they come to a nice point. So I just swish them around in the water bucket, and you can see they come to a nice point. So what's beautiful about the round brush is you can get a nice point for doing finer details, and then you also have the larger portion of the brush which carries a lot of water and paint, so you can do larger washes with that. So I will just do a quick demonstration here on different looks you can get with a round brush. So here, as we said, we can get some nice fine details. With the round brush, because it has that nice point. And then we can also get a wider, larger wash with this. So the round brush, you can get some really great details, some fine looking lines, and then you can also do your larger washes. And if we step up to the larger, that was a size 8 round brush. If we'll move up to a number 10. And as we can see, the number 10. can get some good large washes, as well as some fine lines too. So the watercolor medium is a lot of fun, and brushes really have a big impact on your final look of your painting. And so these round brushes are just a great staple you can use all the time to get used to the medium or as you're painting and going forward. Does that make sense? We're using the round brush. It pretty much can do the fine details as well as the larger washes. And it's just a great all-around, all-purpose brush. And most watercolor artists will tell you that they do use this brush most of the time. There's other favorites, and we'll go over some more. Actually, we'll do another video, so we'll sign out here. We'll just do a little more work with this one here. Let's try maybe a little bit of if we take our brush on the side, we can get a little bit of maybe some tree-like shapes. Okay, so we can get a nice effect too by taking the round brush and just on the side doing some side strokes with our brush, and we can get some nice tree effects, or maybe some sand effects if we're doing let's say maybe a beach scene or something, or maybe some sand. That could be some sand effect. And then we'll add in some water. Okay, and before I go here, I just want to say they also have, when you go out to the art store, they do have the synthetic rounds, and these are less expensive than the natural hair brushes, the round brushes. And these can do the same thing as this natural hair brush, except these here just hold a little bit less water. So it actually will help in the beginning if you're just starting out as a watercolor artist. If you're using synthetic brushes, it'll be a little easier to paint because you have a little less water to deal with on your brush. And as you learn how to paint, you'll learn how to control how much water's on your brush. You can always check some water off your brush. So a lot of times when I'm painting, I might go in and pick up some paint. So I go onto my palette and I pick up some paint. Let's say I'm going to do a tree. I might decide to just check off a little water and paint off my brush, and then now, if I was just to go in and get lots of paint and lots of water, that effect doesn't work as good. Too much water. So the key is balancing your water on your brush, so you can take water off your brush water and paint off your brush by dabbing it on a napkin or tissue. Or instead of having this on the palette, let's say a little more water, you just go with a little less water on your palette. A little less water, just more paint, not as much water. And then you can get the effect a little more. And also too that the watercolor round brush is again very versatile. We can take the synthetic and then once this is dry, so let's just say we're doing a watercolor tree in our painting, we would let this dry, this part of the tree dry, then we can go in with our trunk, a little bit of shadow underneath there maybe. And we could just do some branches here and there, just a little bit here and there. And since we have that nice point, we could also sharpen up that point if we want to. And we can get a few more branches. And there we have it. Okay, so have fun with our watercolor brushes. Try them all. Try the different brushes as you go. And on our next couple videos, we'll try different brushes. We'll see what the other brushes are available that most watercolor artists use around the world. And next we'll probably do the flat brush, which is the square brush or the flat brush. And we'll just see what kind of different things we can do with that. And we'll see you on the next video. Okay, bye for now.